Hello, I'm Pastor Joe, and I want to welcome you to this week's 2-Minute Tuesdays Together. We are continuing our series of trying to understand the Bible better. You know, sometimes it can be complicated. You know, we talk about this being one book, but I'm also going to tell you it's made up of 66 books. We talk about there being two divisions, the Old Testament and the New Testament. But you know what? We're going to divide each of those sections even further. And that sometimes this makes it hard to understand. But the purpose of this video is to help you make sense of it, to break it down into manageable pieces. So come along for the journey and let's get to know this book better. So as we turn to the Bible, again, we know there's 66 books within the Bible. We know there's 39 Old Testament, 27 New Testament, and we know that we can divide each of those testaments further. Last week we talked about the Old Testament, how we can divide that into 4 sections. You have the historical section, which is the first 17 books. Then you have the poetry and wisdom section, then the major prophets and the minor prophets. Now we began in the historical section, but we're also going to subdivide that one even further. We looked at the first 5 books, and that's the Pentateuch, the law. And so today we're going to take a look at the next 12. That'll give us our total of 17 historical books. So we're going to look at the next 12. So let's get 2 minutes on the clock. Let's go. So when we're talking about the second section of the historical books, that part begins with the book of Joshua and it continues through the book of Esther. Now, again, these books are written by different people, different places, different times. But there is a remarkable unity in their story. These 12 historical books work together to tell the story of God's people from the settling of the land of Canaan to the rise and fall of the northern and southern kingdoms to the return and the rebuilding of Jerusalem. Now, to accomplish that, there's really 5 key events, key happenings that we're going to discover in those 12 books. One is the settlement of the land of Canaan. The second is how Israel switched its form of government. They were under a tribal form of government, but they moved to a monarchy. Then we have the dividing of Israel from one nation, one kingdom, into 2. We have the northern and the southern kingdom. Then we have the defeat and the exile of those 2 kingdoms. And then we have the return from exile. So those are the kind of 5 key movements and events in the historical part. Now, as you're thinking about this, also keep in mind there's 4 main characters. There's Joshua, Samuel, David, and Ezra. Joshua, Samuel, David, and Ezra. So here's what I encourage you to do. At some point you ought to read these 12 books. But in the meantime, I encourage you to kind of scan them, skim them, and get the movement, the flow of the story. Get to know kind of what happens when and what follows what. Get also to know the 4 main characters. Who are they? Why are they important? What was their role in Israel? What are they? Why should we remember them? And as we keep these stories in our mind, these 5 events, movements in our mind, and we keep these 4 main characters in our mind, that's going to really help us to understand the Bible better. So look, I want to thank you for joining me for this video. I encourage you to send this video to others that you think might like it or might benefit from it. I also encourage you, if you haven't already, just take a moment, subscribe to my channel, and when you do, hit that bell icon, and anytime I post a new video, you'll get notified of that. So I do thank you for joining me this week for this video, and I hope you'll join me for the next one as well.